What is going on, guys? It is MurderInc here. Today I have some really cool stuff to show you. I'm going to be showing you all of these skills of all of the Battle Pass champions that are going to come out. So really excited about that. The first thing we are going to do is, together as one, we're going to go onto YouTube. We are going to find Panda Killer. He just released his first video. This is where I got all of my information. You are going to do exactly what I do and pay respect where it's deserved. You're going to hit this subscribe button. You're going to go to the comment section of this video. You're going to say, found this through MurderInc. Love the content. Now, I've done this before in another video and I don't do this often. I can tell you that I really like this guy. He is straight to the point, has information no one else has and no one else is covering, and he doesn't add any fluff to it. As you can see, there is no clickbait here. I watched the whole video. Everything's straightforward and to the point and all about information. So I really respect that. If you've been watching me for a while, you know that's what I'm about. So Panda Killer, if you're watching, love the videos. Don't stop. Keep on this track and don't change. Now that we got that out of the way, let's get right into these champions and what they can do. First champion we have here is going to be one of the rares. Exiled Sorcerer. She is a Barbarian. We have an A1, a double hit attack. Each hit has a 30% chance of placing a 30% decreased defense for 2 turns. Attack based champions, 96 base speed, 57 crit damage. Overall pretty decent stats. Really nice to see a rare with the defense down on the A1. Moving on to the A2, we have new abilities that I've talked about on my stream that I've hinted on in YouTube videos. Now they're here. Has a 75 up to 100% chance of placing a 15% decreased crit rate debuff and a 15% decreased crit damage, which we obviously already have on all enemies for 2 turns, so that is awesome to see. For the A2, we have attacks all enemies, has a 50% chance of placing a 15% decreased speed debuff and 15% weaken debuff for 2 turns, obviously on all enemies as specified before. When booked, we can see increase the chance by 25% on these skills. Moving on to the next rare on our list, we have Wandering Priest, Barbarian, Spirit Affinity Champion. On the A1, we have an attack down on a rare. Good job, Plarium. You obviously listened and definitely gave rares more utility, especially being a battle pass. I'm really proud of you guys. You did it. It is damage based on attack, but if you look down at these stats really quick, 102 base speed, 1000 defense, 2 thumbs up from me on this type of champion. For the A3, we have places a 15% strengthen and a 25% increased accuracy buff on all allies for 2 turns, going all the way down to a 3-turn cooldown. So once again, even more benefit added to this rare. Moving on to the A2, removes all debuffs from a target ally, then heals them by 30% of their max HP and places a Veil buff on them for 2 turns. 3-turn cooldown. This is going to be absolutely gigantic for pretty much every single beginner clan boss team. I'm telling you that right now. This is an awesome kit and it's fantastic. This is a rare coming out in the battle pass. The next champion we have here is the Royal Archmage, Banner Lords Epic. And we have attacks 1 enemy, fills this champion's turn meter by 10%, fills the turn meter by 20% if this attack is critical. Moving on to the A2, attacks 1 enemy, also attacks all enemies if the first attack is critical. Each hit has a 50% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn. After attacking, decreases the turn meter of each enemy without a stun debuff by 20%. So lots of cool things we can do here. Really excited to see him. We get an additional 20% from books, also making it a 3-turn cooldown if he is fully booked. Really high base speed, I'm sure you've noticed this already. Really high defense. He definitely has lots of initial reaction synergy with an arena team. Coming in on the A3, we have places a 30% increased speed, 30% increased crit rate, 30% increased crit damage buff on all allies for 2 turns, going all the way down to a 3-turn cooldown. So furthermore, even adding to this beast of an arena champions kit. Obviously he's going to have uses elsewhere, but initially, when I read it, I'm sure when you read it, this just screams arena. And what's going to scream arena even more is what his passive does. Passive, Chrono Isolation, immune to turn meter decreasing effects. sorry Lissandra, you played yourself. And of course the aura, we have 17% speed in the arena. So this is going to be, if you're a new player looking for where to spend money, after seeing these champions, it's clear the winner is going to be the battle pass. You have to buy a one purchase in the game. Get this, you are going to be more set than you can imagine going forward. Moving on to the next epic on our list, we have the Inferno Golem Demon Spawn Epic. Molten Punches is A1, attacks one enemy, has a 50% chance of placing a 30% decrease crit rate debuff for 2 turns. Defense-based champion, we have 1300 base defense, 95 base speed, a little bit on the low end. And as we can see, the percentage goes all the way up to 75% total when fully booked. Moving on to the A2, we have attacks all enemies, has a 20% chance of placing an HP burn debuff for 2 turns. The chance of placing the debuff increases by 20% for each ally alive. There are no conditions specified here, so it's fair to say this is going to be a spider champion, going all the way to 100%, easy cap. It doesn't say it's limited to 1 or 2. It doesn't say the max percentage of increase on the chance to land is 40%. So based off of reading this, going to end at 100%. Moving on to the A3, attacks all enemies, has a 50% chance of increasing the cooldowns of all skills by 2 turns on enemies under HP burn debuffs. Also places a shield buff equal to 20% this champion's maximum health on all allies for 2 turns. This is really cool. This is like a epic version of Warlord. He isn't void, so there will be some clashing affinities. However, this is a really strong ability, especially with him applying HP burn himself. Moving on to his passive, he has a 10% chance of placing a fear debuff on an enemy for 1 turn when they receive damage from an HP burn debuff. So huge CC kit. This guy, once again, screams spider, also screams arena, because now he does what Warlord does, and Warlord is one of the strongest arena champions in the game with the ability to put all of your abilities on cooldown. So that is huge and something to definitely keep in mind. For an aura, on top of everything, we have increases ally HP by 25% in all battles. So another huge role. Once again, Plarium, you did a fantastic job so far. I hope you keep it up in the upcoming champions that I'm going to go over today. Now, the Void Legendary Urost, the Soul Cage, Demon Spawn Legendary. This is probably going to be the end reward for this. Now, his A1 attacks one enemy, places a shield buff on this champion equal to 10% of the champion's max HP. The shield's value increases by 1% for each poison debuff on the target. Damage based on HP. Let's look at his stats. 24,000 base health, 1100 defense, 95 speed. A little bit low on the speed and the defense, but regardless, I like how unique his kit is so far. Going to the A2, everyone thought this was going to be poison sensitivity. However, unfortunately, it's not, so let's get into it right now. Attacks all enemies, has a 75 up to 100% chance when booked to decrease the turn meters by 15% of enemies under 1 or more poison debuffs. Also has a 75 up to 100 of placing a 30% decreased speed for 2 turns on enemies under 2 or more poison debuffs. Has a, once again, 75 or 100% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn on enemies under 3 or more poison debuffs. So this guy has synergy kind of like Cult Brawler's A2. The more poisons a Cult Brawler has on himself, the more special enhancements, we'll call it, he does. This is the complete opposite, where the more debuffs of poison on a target, the more things this champion has to offer. So I think this is really cool. Moving on to his passive, Call of the Cage. One attack has a 50% chance of placing a 5% poison debuff on the target for 2 turns. When an ally is attacked while under strengthen buff, has a 50% chance of placing a provoke debuff on the attacker for 1 turn. Increases this champion's max HP by 5% whenever an enemy receives damage from a poison debuff placed by this champion. So that's key there. It has to be placed by this champion. Whenever an enemy receives damage from a poison debuff placed by this champion, it also decreases their max HP by 5%. So obviously on the bottom here, we are looking at some much expected caps to this. So let's go through that really quick. Cannot decrease a single champion's max HP by more than 25% in one battle. Will not decrease his boss's max health. Cannot increase this champion's max health by more than 50%. This guy, very involved, very unique to say the least. I really like how they're kind of going outside the box with the kits. We're not getting these straightforward kits anymore. We have an A1, A2, A3 that all does something. Now we're kind of interacting with other champions on your team, interacting more with the enemy based on the skills you use. I think this is really cool, and it may not be the new content we're looking for, but they are definitely going in the right direction for now as far as introducing something new to the game that isn't already there. Moving on to his A3, obviously based on the passive, we know that it's going to provide a strengthen buff as well as an ally protection on a what's better than this 3-turn cooldown. So maybe they're getting it into their head that by giving us 4-turn cooldowns, we're having to... A lot of the community is really struggling, looking for that 4-to-3 ratio for something like a clan boss. So hopefully they stick on this path and keep things on a 3-turn cooldown when you fully book them to give the player base an easier time trying to tune these champions. His aura increases ally resistance in all battles by 80. Moving on to the Force Epic Elemental Conjurer. Dark Elves, the A1 attacks one enemy, has a 50% chance of placing block buffs debuff 2 turns. The A2 has a 75% chance of removing all buffs from all enemies. When booked, this goes to a 100% chance of removing all buffs from all enemies, so that's really cool. Also has a 75 up to 100% chance of placing a 25% weakened debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. Really cool A2 on a 3-turn cooldown once again. Moving on to the A3, Master of Summons, revive a dead ally with 50% HP, 50% turn meter, then places a block debuffs buff on them for 2 turns. Will also revive Infernal Golem or Uras the Soul Cage with 30% HP and 30% turn meter if they're on the same team and not the target of the skill. This is cool. Now we have Elemental Conjurer. This is some direct synergy with the epic we just mentioned, as well as the Void Legendary we just mentioned. So it's going to be awesome to see what you, the community, can do together and what kind of teams, where you can use these 3 champions together. I'm really looking forward to A, testing it myself, and B, seeing what the community has to offer and what they can come up with as far as synergy goes between these 3 champions. If either Infernal Golem or Uras, the Soul Cage, are the target of this skill, the champion will be revived by 50% HP with the 50% turn meter and the block debuff once again for 2 turns. This goes all the way down to a 4-turn cooldown once fully booked. For an aura, we have increases ally accuracy in all battles by 40. Looking at the base stats, 17,000 health, 1,000 attack, 1,100 defense, 98 speed. Nothing really impressive there. Speed is decent, but outside of that, everything's pretty much regular. Now we are going over the last legendary of the evening, Thea, the Tomb Angel. Really cool looking champion. One thing I do want to mention is if you are looking for multipliers on all of these champions, that is available. If you want to see what all of these champions look like in their animations, you're going to have to check out Panda Killer's video. Didn't want to take all of it. He definitely deserves more credit for the work he did. What I really want to know is, how did you get into that debug data and get into that dev mode where you got to look at all these champions live? That's what I want to know. So once again, obviously I wasn't just going to take all of that information. I want you to go to his channel and watch his video for sure if you want to see what the models look like live, and if you want to know what the multipliers are. Definitely go check him out like I already mentioned. So this is the last champion here. He did give out what the A1 of this champion is, but he did not give the A2, A3, or passive. Right off the bat, we can look at the base stats: 1600 HP, 1500 attack, so that is definitely a lot of attack. Low defense, really low speed, and your average higher threshold crit damage base. So let's get right into what the A1 has in store for us today. And to my knowledge, just as a sidebar, this champion is not part of the battle pass. So A1 Befoulment attacks 2 times at random. I really don't like the at random, but we'll go with it for now. Has a 75 up to 100% chance of placing a Hex Debuff for 5 turns. Now, my friends, what is Hex Debuff? I know you recognize the symbol. We've all pounded our face against the dungeon with this same symbol. Yes, the Minotaur. This debuff cannot be resisted. Awesome, no accuracy needed. From the A1, we don't know what the A2 and A3 have in store, as well as the passive. Each critical hit decreases the cooldown of the Not of This World skill by 1 turn. Lots of mystery left by Panda Killer. I know I'm looking forward to his next video, and that is all the information I have for you today. hopefully you enjoyed this recap of it. I'm excited for more information to come out so I can go over it again with all of you guys. Don't forget, if you like this content, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss my next upload. Hopefully it's talking about some of this cool stuff, and I will see you all in the next video.